Captain Rachel Harrison stared at the massive crystalline vessel that had appeared in Earth's orbit, its surface refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. As commander of the International Space Station's defense unit, she had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of the Celestial Dominion's arrival. "All defense systems hold," she commanded, keeping her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the command center. The alien ship dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed, its presence both beautiful and terrifying. The communication console chimed, indicating an incoming transmission. Rachel squared her shoulders, aware that history pivoted on this moment. "Accept transmission," she ordered. The holographic display materialized, revealing a being that defied human imagination. Empress Nixis of the Celestial Dominion stood nearly 9 feet tall, her form composed of what appeared to be living crystal and starlight. Multiple arms moved with fluid grace, and her eyes, all 4 of them, shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist. "Humans of Earth," the Empress spoke, her words translated through some unknown technology. "Your civilization has been observed and found lacking. Your world now falls under the protection of the Celestial Dominion." Rachel felt her jaw clench. "With respect, Your Majesty, Earth is a sovereign world. We neither need nor desire protection." A sound like chiming crystals emerged from the Empress, laughter, Rachel realized. How amusing. Your species still clings to illusions of independence when you have barely mastered basic space flight. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, little human. You will learn to appreciate our benevolence. "We appreciate the offer," Rachel responded diplomatically, "but humanity has survived and thrived through countless challenges. We're capable of determining our own path." The Empress's crystalline form shifted, patterns of light rippling through her transparent body. "You mistake this for a negotiation, Captain Harrison. The Dominion does not negotiate. We elevate lesser species, guiding them toward enlightenment whether they wish it or not." Rachel's tactical display suddenly lit up with warnings. Smaller ships were emerging from the crystalline vessel, taking up strategic positions around Earth's major cities. The message was clear: resistance would be met with force. "The transition will be smoother if you cooperate," Nixis continued. "Your species has potential, despite its primitive nature. I would prefer not to waste resources subduing you." As Rachel watched the alien ships positioning themselves around her home world, a plan began forming in her mind. The Celestial Dominion clearly possessed technology far beyond human capabilities, but they had made one critical mistake: they had underestimated humanity's resourcefulness and determination. "We request 24 hours to inform our world leaders and prepare our people for this transition," Rachel said carefully. "Such a momentous change requires proper preparation." Nixis's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "Granted. I am not without mercy. Use this time wisely, Captain Harrison. When next we speak, I expect your world submission." As the transmission ended, Rachel was already moving. "Get me a secure line to all major military commands," she ordered. "And contact Dr. Patel at the Quantum Research Facility. Her research on crystalline resonance frequencies just became the most important scientific project in human history." "What are you planning, Captain?" her second-in-command, Lieutenant James Rodriguez, asked. Rachel's eyes remained fixed on the alien vessel, its crystalline surface now seeming less beautiful and more vulnerable. "They think we're primitive, Lieutenant. Let's show them how dangerous primitive can be." Over the next 24 hours, humanity would prove that being underestimated could be the greatest advantage of all. As Rachel coordinated with military and scientific leaders worldwide, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. In their arrogance, the Celestial Dominion had given Earth exactly what it needed: time to prepare. The Empress would soon learn that humans were far more than simple creatures in need of protection. They were innovators, warriors, and survivors. And when pushed to the edge, they became something else entirely: they became unstoppable. Dr. Samira Patel's fingers flew across the holographic interface, her dark eyes reflecting cascading streams of data. The quantum research facility's underground lab hummed with energy as she refined her calculations. The crystalline structure of their ships isn't just for show, she explained to Rachel, who stood watching intently. It's a sophisticated neural network, almost like a living organism. Can we use that against them? Rachel asked, noting how the scientist's normally calm demeanor had been replaced by barely contained excitement. Better. Samira pulled up a three-dimensional model of the alien flagship. We can communicate with it. Their entire civilization is built on crystalline technology, but they never considered that another species might understand its fundamental properties. It's not just their ships, it's their bodies, their weapons, their entire infrastructure. Rachel leaned closer, studying the pulsing patterns that ran through the model. You're saying we can hack them? In a manner of speaking. Every crystal has a resonance frequency. Find the right one. Samira's hands made a gesture like she was conducting an orchestra. And you can either shatter it or, more interestingly, reshape it. Before Rachel could respond, the facility's alarms blared. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm system. Captain, we've got movement. The Dominion ships are advancing on major population centers. Time's up, Rachel muttered. Dr. Patel, please tell me you have something we can use. Samira held up what looked like a small tuning fork made of dark metal. It's not perfect, but it should disrupt their neural networks temporarily. Range is limited, you'll need to get close. Close I can do. Rachel took the device, securing it to her tactical belt. How many of these can you make? With the prototypes already constructed, we have 12. Teams are producing more, but it will take hours. Rachel nodded grimly. 12 will have to do. Get them to our strike teams immediately. The next few hours became a blur of action. As Dominion ships descended toward Earth cities, humanity launched its counterattack. Not with traditional weapons, those would have been useless against the advanced alien vessels, but with something far more subtle. Rachel led her team personally, their stealth shuttle approaching the command ship under the cover of a sophisticated cloaking system. The massive crystalline vessel sparkled above them, beautiful and deadly. Remember, she transmitted to the strike teams worldwide, we only get one shot at this. Hit your target simultaneously when you receive my signal. They docked with the alien flagship using technology adapted from Samira's research. The crystalline hull accepted them as though they were a natural growth. Rachel's team moved through the ethereal corridors, encountering surprisingly little resistance. The Celestial Dominion, it seemed, had never considered the possibility of being infiltrated. They found Empress Nixis in her throne room, a vast chamber that seemed to be carved from a single massive crystal. The Empress's form pulsed with angry light as Rachel's team entered. You dare, she hissed, rising to her full height. Your primitive species truly does not understand its place. Actually, Rachel replied, activating Samira's device, I think we understand perfectly. The resonance wave that emanated from the device was silent to human ears, but its effect on the crystalline chamber was immediate. Patterns of light that had flowed smoothly through the walls began to stutter and fragment. Nixis herself staggered, her form flickering like a faulty hologram. What have you done? The Empress's voice distorted, her multiple arms moving erratically. Proved a point. Rachel stepped forward, her team covering her. Your civilization's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. You're so integrated with your technology that you never stop to consider what would happen if someone learned to speak its language. Around the world, other strike teams were deploying their devices. The Dominion fleet, once so coordinated and powerful, fell into disarray. Ships hung motionless in the sky, their neural networks scrambled by frequencies they had never been programmed to resist. You can't. Nixis's form continued to flicker, her voice becoming more unstable. We are the Celestial Dominion. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. Then perhaps it's time for a change. Rachel held up the resonance device. Right now, your entire fleet is experiencing the same disruption. We can maintain this frequency indefinitely, keeping your ships and your people in this paralyzed state. Or we can talk, really talk, about a future where Earth and the Dominion interact as equals. The Empress's crystalline form stabilized slightly, her four eyes focusing on Rachel with new intensity. You planned this from the beginning. The request for time. We needed to prepare, yes. But more importantly, we needed you to maintain your assumption that we were primitive and harmless. Rachel allowed herself a small smile. Consider this a lesson in the danger of underestimating lesser species. For a long moment, the throne room was silent except for the subtle hum of the resonance device. Then, slowly, Empress Nixis lowered herself to a more equal height with Rachel. When she spoke, her voice carried a note of something new, respect. Perhaps, she said carefully, we have something to learn from humanity after all. The negotiations that followed humanity's demonstration of power were unlike anything in the celestial dominion's long history. For the first time, the crystalline beings found themselves treating with a species they had intended to subjugate. The Great Hall of the United Nations buzzed with an energy that was part tension, part possibility. Your resonance technology is impressive, Empress Nixis admitted, her form casting prismatic patterns across the assembly chamber. But you must understand, the galaxy holds dangers far greater than the Dominion. Our protection serves a purpose. Rachel, now serving as Earth's chief diplomatic officer, leaned forward. Then share your knowledge. Help us prepare. But do it as allies, not overlords. Before Nixis could respond, the chamber's security systems blared to life. Lieutenant Rodriguez burst through the doors, his face grave. Captain, multiple ruptures in spacetime detected. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything we've seen. Through the chamber's panoramic windows, dark tears appeared in the sky. From these wounds in reality emerged ships that made the Dominion's fleet look small, massive, organic-looking vessels that pulsed with malevolent red energy. The Void Collective, Nixis whispered, her crystalline form dimming with what Rachel recognized as fear. We thought we had centuries before they reached this sector. What are they? Rachel demanded, already activating her tactical systems. The reason we sought to protect younger races, the Empress replied. They don't conquer. They consume. Entire civilizations, reduced to energy to feed their endless hunger. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the calm, the resonance technology won't work on them, their ships are organic, not crystalline. We need a new strategy. Rachel watched as the massive ships began positioning themselves around Earth. Their surface rippled like living tissue, occasionally splitting open to reveal what looked like enormous maws. You said they consume energy? She asked suddenly, an idea forming. Yes, Nixis confirmed. They are drawn to powerful energy sources. It's why they target advanced civilizations first. A grim smile crossed Rachel's face. Then maybe it's time to give them indigestion. She turned to Dr. Patel's holographic projection. Samira, remember that theoretical weapon you said was too dangerous to test? The one that would create a cascading resonance effect? The scientist's eyes widened. The crystal nova. But that could tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. Exactly. Rachel turned to Empress Nixis. Your ships are powered by crystalline matrices. What if we deliberately overloaded them, creating the biggest energy surge these creatures have ever seen? And then destabilized it, Nixis continued, catching on quickly. The resulting feedback loop would turn their own feeding process against them, Rachel finished. But we'd need every ship in your fleet to generate enough power. The Empress's form pulsed with new determination. The Dominion fleet will follow my command. But the timing must be perfect. Too early, and they'll detect the trap. Too late. Then we'll give them something else to focus on. Rachel activated her global command channel. All Earth Defense Forces, this is Captain Harrison. Prepare for Operation Firefly. What followed was the most coordinated military action in human history. As the Void Collective ships descended, Earth's combined forces launched an apparently desperate defense. Conventional weapons fire, nuclear missiles, and even the resonance devices, all carefully calculated to appear threatening while causing minimal actual damage. Meanwhile, the Dominion fleet gathered in high orbit, their crystalline ships forming an intricate geometric pattern. Each vessel began to pulse with increasing intensity, their neural networks synchronized through Samira's enhanced resonance technology. "They're taking the bait," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "The collective is moving to engage the Dominion fleet directly." Rachel watched the tactical display, her heart pounding. The massive organic ships were clustering around the Dominion vessels, drawn by the immense energy signature. "Wait for it," she muttered. "Wait for it." The Void Collective ships opened their maws, beginning their feeding process. At that exact moment, Rachel gave the signal. Now. The Dominion fleet erupted with blinding light as every crystalline matrix overloaded simultaneously. The energy release was catastrophic, but instead of dispersing, it was caught in the collective's feeding vortex. The organic ships writhed as the destabilized energy tore through their systems. Secondary phase. Rachel commanded. Dr. Patel activated the Crystal Nova device, sending a resonance wave that transformed the chaotic energy release into something even more devastating. Space itself seemed to buckle as the feedback loop reached critical levels. When the light faded and sensors came back online, the Void Collective ships were gone. In their place was a shimmering quantum distortion that slowly collapsed in on itself, sealing the ruptures they had created. "We did it," Rachel breathed, hardly daring to believe it had worked. "But the Dominion fleet can be rebuilt," Empress Nixis said softly. Her own form had diminished, weakened by the massive energy expenditure, but her voice carried new warmth. "You risked everything to save not just your world, but all worlds threatened by the collective. Perhaps we were wrong about humanity's place in the galaxy." Rachel looked at the Empress, seeing not an alien overlord but a potential ally. Maybe that's the real lesson here. No species has all the answers. But together. She gestured to the assembled human and Dominion leaders. Together we might just be unstoppable. 6 months after the defeat of the Void Collective, Earth had transformed. Crystal spires now rose alongside steel skyscrapers, their surfaces shimmering with shared knowledge as human and Dominion technology merged. In the orbital shipyards, vessels of hybrid design took shape, combining human ingenuity with crystalline power. Rachel stood in the new Joint Command Center, watching holographic displays track the progress of what many now called the integration. Dar. Patel worked nearby, her lab coat adorned with crystalline sensors that interfaced directly with Dominion research systems. "The quantum harmonics are stable," Samira reported, her fingers dancing through streams of data. "The neural networks are accepting human operators at a 93% compatibility rate." "Better than we hoped," Rachel nodded, but her attention was drawn to a subtle disturbance in the tactical display. "What's that anomaly in Sector 7? Before Samira could respond, Empress Nixis materialized beside them, her crystalline form now incorporating streaks of earthen colors, a sign of the changes affecting both species. "We're detecting similar disturbances across 3 galaxies," she said without preamble. "The destruction of the Void Collective has had unexpected consequences." Lieutenant Rodriguez joined them, bringing up enhanced scans of the anomalies. "The quantum distortions are growing. It's like reality is unraveling at the edges." "The Crystal Nova," Samira breathed, her eyes widening. "When we destabilized that much energy at once, we didn't just destroy the collective. We created microfractures in spacetime itself." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. "How bad?" "Bad," Nixis answered, her form flickering with concern. The fractures are spreading, merging. If unchecked, they could tear apart the fabric of our universe. But we have a plan, Samira interjected quickly. The same crystalline technology that allowed us to defeat the collective might let us repair the damage. We'd need to create a lattice of quantum-stabilized crystals at key points throughout space. A network of anchors, Rachel mused, studying the projections. To hold reality together while the fractures heal naturally. Precisely, Nixis confirmed. But there's a cost. Every crystal in the network would need to be permanently powered. The Dominion would have to sacrifice much of our technological infrastructure. We would be diminished. Rachel looked at the Empress sharply. You'd be giving up your power. Your advantage. Yes. Nixis's form shifted, patterns of light moving through her crystalline body like thoughts made visible. But perhaps that was always meant to be. We sought to control the galaxy through our technological superiority. Instead, we must learn to truly coexist. The next few weeks saw the greatest cooperative effort in known history. Human manufacturing facilities worked around the clock, adapting Dominion crystal technology into stabilization nodes. The remaining Dominion fleet, joined by Earth's new hybrid ships, began positioning these nodes at calculated points across space. Rachel coordinated the effort from the Joint Command Center, marveling at how smoothly humans and Dominion beings now work together. Where once there had been suspicion and hostility, now there was seamless collaboration. Final node network is ready, Samira announced one day, her voice tight with anticipation. All points report synchronized quantum signatures. And the Dominion systems? Rachel asked, looking at Nixis. Our people are prepared. The Empress's voice carried both sadness and resolution. We have transferred essential functions to sustainable crystals. The rest will be sacrificed. Rachel placed a hand near Nixis's crystalline form, not quite touching but offering support in the way their two species had learned to share. Your people are giving up so much. We are gaining more, Nixis replied. True allies. Equals. A chance to evolve beyond what we were. She turned to Samira. Begin the initialization sequence. Throughout the galaxy, the stabilization nodes activated. The Dominion's vast crystal networks, built over millennia, began to pulse with new purpose. Energy flowed from their civilization's infrastructure into the quantum lattice, each node becoming a bright point of light in the darkness of space. On screens throughout the command center, they watched as the space-time fractures began to seal. Reality itself seemed to knit back together, the quantum fabric strengthening as the crystal network took hold. But something else was happening too. Where Dominion technology interfaced with the stabilization nodes, unexpected changes occurred. Crystal structures didn't simply power down, they transformed, becoming simpler but somehow more elegant. More natural. Look, Samira whispered, pointing to Nixis. The Empress's form was changing, her once purely crystalline body incorporating new elements, becoming a hybrid much like the technology their species now shared. We are evolving, Nixis said with wonder. Not diminishing, but becoming something new. Something better. Rachel watched as similar transformations spread throughout the Dominion population. Their civilization wasn't ending, it was transforming, finding a balance between power and harmony, between control and cooperation. Maybe that's the real victory here, she said softly. Not just saving the universe, but learning how to live in it together. The quantum lattice continued its work, not just repairing reality but reshaping it, creating a galaxy where two vastly different species had found a way to become something greater than either had been alone. 5 years after the quantum lattice stabilized reality, the galaxy had become almost unrecognizable. The grand crystalline cities of the Dominion now pulsed with human innovation, while Earth's settlements shimmered with integrated crystal technology. But the most remarkable changes weren't in the architecture or the technology, they were in the people themselves. Rachel stood at the observation deck of the New Harmony station, a massive structure orbiting between Earth and Mars that served as the headquarters for the United Galactic Council. Beside her, Empress Nixis, though she now preferred simply Representative Nixis, watched ships arrive for the 5th anniversary celebration of what historians called the Great Unity. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come," Rachel said, observing a group of human children playing with young Dominion beings, their laughter mixing with the musical tones of crystal communication. Nixis's form, now a harmonious blend of crystalline structure and organic elements, shifted in what Rachel had learned was amusement. "When I first arrived at Earth, I thought we were coming to uplift a primitive species. Instead, you uplifted us. We uplifted each other," Dr. Patel corrected, joining them. Her research center had become the galaxy's premier institution for studying the new hybrid technologies emerging from human-dominion collaboration. The quantum lattice didn't just save reality, it showed us a better way to exist within it. The station's alert system chimed softly, announcing the arrival of more delegates for the celebration. Through the vast windows, they watched as ships of every design imaginable emerged from quantum space, some crystalline, some mechanical, most a blend of both. Species that had once lived in fear of the Dominion now came as equals, bringing their own innovations to share. "The latest reports from the Outer Rim are promising," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, approaching with a holographic display. "The quantum lattice has stabilized 99% of the known universe. The few remaining fractures are healing naturally." "And the evolutionary changes?" Rachel asked, though she could see the answer in the beings around her. The station buzzed with life forms that defied old categories, as the lattice's influence had sparked changes throughout all species touched by crystal technology. "Accelerating," Samira confirmed. "But in a controlled way. Each species is adapting while maintaining its essential nature. It's like the universe is finding its optimal state of balance." A small commotion drew their attention. A group of children, human and Dominion alike, had discovered they could create beautiful light patterns by combining their abilities. Human creativity merged with crystalline energy manipulation, producing displays that danced across the station's ceiling. "That," Nixis said softly, "is our true legacy. Not conquest, not protection, but partnership. Growth." Rachel smiled, remembering the fear and defiance she'd felt when the Dominion first appeared above Earth. "We all had to learn to see beyond our assumptions. Humans had to learn we weren't alone in the universe. The Dominion had to learn that technological superiority didn't equal evolutionary superiority. And together," Samira added, "we learned that the strongest civilizations aren't built on power or control, but on understanding and cooperation." The station's central chamber began to fill as delegates arrived for the ceremony. Rachel saw representatives from hundreds of worlds, each bringing their own story of how the Great Unity had transformed their civilization. Former enemies now worked together, sharing knowledge and resources freely. "It's time," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. Rachel nodded, straightening her uniform, now incorporating crystalline elements that connected her to the station's systems. As Earth's representative to the United Galactic Council, she would help lead the ceremony alongside Nixis. 5 years ago, she began, her voice carrying to all corners of the chamber, "Our universe faced destruction. Not just from the Void Collective, but from our own actions, our own limitations. We stood at a precipice, forced to choose between clinging to our separate paths or finding a new way forward together." Nixis stepped forward, her form radiating gentle light. "We chose unity. Not the false unity of conquest and submission that my people once sought to impose, but true unity, the kind that celebrates our differences while building on our shared strengths." Throughout the chamber, beings of all species touched their own crystalline elements, connecting to the quantum lattice that bound them together. The station itself seemed to pulse with their combined energy, a physical manifestation of their interconnectedness. "The challenges ahead are still great," Rachel continued. "There are more mysteries to explore, more boundaries to transcend. But we face them not as separate species struggling for dominance, but as one galaxy working toward a shared future. As if in response to her words, the quantum lattice rippled visibly throughout space, its network of lights stretching to the horizon and beyond. Each point represented not just a stabilization node, but a connection between worlds, between peoples, between possibilities. This, Nixus concluded, is the true power of unity. Not in erasing our differences, but in weaving them together into something stronger, more beautiful than any one species could create alone. The chamber erupted in celebration, a symphony of human cheers mixing with crystalline harmonics and 100 other forms of expression. Rachel looked out at the faces, human, dominion, and everything in between, and saw in them the future they had all built together. A future where strength came not from domination but from cooperation, where evolution meant not just survival but growth, and where the greatest power of all was the ability to change, to learn, and to rise together into something greater than anyone had imagined possible.